Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing another 10-team fantasy football mock draft. This time we're drafting from the 4th spot in a 10-team half PPR mock draft. We'll show you how to win your league by winning your draft. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, we are doing another mock draft Friday. That is right. It is another one. We're doing another 10-team as well. This time we're doing a half PPR from the 4th drafting spot in the first round there. This is going to be another fun one. I've already got it queued up and ready to go. I just wanted to talk to you really quick about our draft kit. Let you know that we do have that for sale right now. It is $10 over on our website. It is ffbupside.com, or you can just scan this QR code. It's not showing up right now, but you can head over to that to our website. You'll find it. It's right there at the top. It's got a link. It's got all kinds of helpful information in there. It's going to help you get ready for your draft and dominate on draft day. We've got all of our pre-draft rankings. I'm getting ready to update with another edition of the draft kit. And if you order our draft kit, you will get every updated edition. We are updating heavily as we get closer to full-on draft season, which we are about a week away, I would say, before everything starts kicking into high gear for most leagues. All right, so let's dive in head first into the shallow end and let's start doing this draft, right? All right, so we've got it set up at half PPR right here, 10 teams, 4th pick, and 60 seconds on the clock. Yesterday, we did a 14-team from the 10th spot with standard scoring. So if you want to check that episode out, you can. It'll be right in the the link above here. But we are going to have 3 wide receivers. Yesterday, we just had 2. Everything else is pretty standard here. 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 defense, 1 kicker, and 6 bench spots. We're going to keep a minute on the clock, and let's get going on this thing, right? All right, so this one, it's an interesting spot because I know there's several running backs who are going to potentially fall here who I don't like, who I will not draft actually, and it's Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott. I think that both of them at 4th pick are the wrong pick. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. You should check out our previous episodes. From earlier this week, I broke down why I'm not going to pick Derrick Henry this year, just based on the draft capital cost there. It's not the right pick in my mind. You might ask me, what is the right pick? That's why I wanted to do this draft from the 4th spot, because I knew that the guys who I would typically take are going to be gone. I would like to take Alvin Kamara, but that's just not a possibility. So for me, it jumps down to Aaron Jones, actually. It's between him and Nick Chubb. Those are the guys that I would consider here. I do like Jonathan Taylor as well, but I think that the value is just key for the 2 of them. So I would lean between those 2. I do suggest you check out the episode about which running backs I think are overvalued, and Derrick Henry is one of them. I think that he's going to end up as a back-end RB1, high-end RB2 this year. That's where I'm just thinking he's going to be. All right, so running back's still pretty solid. Antonio Gibson here at the back of the 2nd round would be a great snag in my mind. And then wide receiver, Ridley is a high value pick for me. He is a tier 1 pick in my mind, and apparently in Fantasy Pro's mind as well. And I can see myself being just as happy. I do like Gibson. I think he's got the potential for a running back 1 season. Not the running back 1, but a running back 1, the top 12 talent. But I see other guys here who I would gladly take in his, if I missed out on him, if he wasn't there. And so I'm going to go with Ridley here. I do like DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, and Allen Robinson, McLaurin. So there is some value here, but I think that Ridley is on another level from these other guys. So I'm going to go with him and move on. All right, running back, the value is still there. I do like Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year. I think that he's going to be a surprise for a lot of people. I think that he was underutilized last year, and I think that he'll have a better season this year than he did last year. And so getting him in the 3rd round is a pretty good grab in my mind. Let's see here what's happened over at wide receiver and at tight end. Darren Waller is still available if we want to go with him. He is actually a guy who I do believe to be overvalued. The 3rd round is really high for me. I would pass on him there. I think that the value is pretty good beyond that elsewhere. I'm not so concerned about what's happened over QB because I'm not taking one of these guys, especially not in the third round. Josh Allen would be a nice grab, but it's not a guy I'm going to spend that high value for. If I was going to go with wide receiver, it would be Allen Robinson or Terry McLaurin. I like both of them. It's a bit of a reach. It's possible, very small possibility that one of them falls to me in the next round. Very unlikely. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is where I'm going to go with. I would consider David Montgomery here as well. All right, so wide receiver. Let's check back and see what's happened over there. We've got one right now, and I do also want to point out that in half PPR, we are building a team right now that is very much so going to get a lot more passing work. Calvin Ridley especially. I think Hilaire is going to get a good amount of passing work, and I think that Aaron Jones, I know that Aaron Jones will get a good amount of work. So let's look at the running backs, see what's going on there. Miles Sanders is an okay grab, especially when we're considering point per reception. Mike Davis, Kareem Hunt. If we go grab Mike Davis, then, all of these are kind of reaching other than Sanders. But if we were to end up with Mike Davis, I would consider holding out for and waiting and grabbing Matt Ryan later on. Not because I think Matt Ryan is some incredible QB for this season. It's because we've also got Ridley. We would be doubling down essentially on most passes that are going to occur in that offense, and we would get a lot of points for that. There's a lot of point value coming out of that offense most likely. I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb, though. I'm going with wide receiver, and I think that Lamb's the guy to grab here in this spot. I think he's going to have a great year. I did like a few of the other guys that were sitting there. Robert Woods was a good spot. Looks like Mike Davis went off the board right now, right before we got the chance to pick. That's okay. Probably better off than making that mistake. I think that is a pretty high pick for him. I wouldn't put him in the 5th. I've seen him fall into the 6th round and even later, in fact. At tight end here, there are a few guys still of good value, but I think that it's a little early to grab any of those guys. Kyle Pitts is a good option. That's another one. Again, though, receiving option, I don't like to double down on the receiving options in the same offense. It's usually a pretty scary move in my mind, but we could go grab somebody like Kareem Hunt right here. There are some wide receivers that are available that are really good. I don't necessarily always build my roster, by filling out the starting lineup or something like that. Some people do that. They like to just make that their plan, and that's how they do it. If you draft with those guys all the time, you could predict what their picks are going to be, though. All right, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go with Kareem Hunt. We could consider one of these other wide receivers like DJ Moore or Tyler Lockett. I do like both of those guys. Cooper Kupp a little less so, but I think those are all pretty good values, pretty decent spots. All right, wide receiver has been getting hit pretty hard. We are thinner there than I would prefer as far as like what the value is relative to the other positions. Myles Gaskin's hanging out here. Let's see what tight end is. Mark Andrews is hanging out there. Kyle Pitts is still there. I think we have to go with Kyle Pitts. I think that's the pick, guys. Let's look and see what the running back is again. Gaskin, wide receiver. Maybe I would take Jamar Chase. Maybe. I'm worried about him in that offense. I'm worried about that offensive line more than anything, I think. I think there's some wide receivers here that I would sit and wait on. I'm not taking a QB here. Lamar Jackson is a great value pick, though, at this point. 6th round for Lamar Jackson is not bad, but there's still some other guys that I'd gladly take. I think that, in my mind, Kyle Pitts is the obvious choice here. So I'm going to take him. And yeah, Lamar Jackson's now gone. So he did fall to the 7th round. That's actually pretty late for him in my mind, although it is a 10-team draft, so it's not so egregious, right? All right, so here we are. Let's see here. We are done with tight end. In a 10-team league, I see no reason to carry 2 tight ends. I could see the argument being made for carrying 2 QBs, depending on who your first QB is that you grab. But I cannot justify dragging 2 tight ends on my roster the whole season. I think we need to go with a wide receiver here, most likely. I think Chase Claypool and Jamar Chase are both good options. Let's see if they're still going to be hanging around at all. It's possible. but unlikely that they would be available at our next pick. So both of those are decent picks right here. At running back, maybe Javonte Williams, maybe Melvin Gordon, but I don't think when you compare against both of these guys that I would do that. I'm going to go with Chase Claypool. I just trust that offense a little bit better. I think it's going to be a little bit more sound of an offense, and I think that you are looking at an old arm throwing versus a young arm throwing, so it is a bit of a problem, but it's not terrible. All right, I like Robbie Anderson, Jerry Jeudy here in this spot. Brandon Cooks is not a terrible pick, especially because there's nothing saying right now that Watson isn't going to be the guy throwing the ball. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm not sure. At running back, probably need to start building a little bit more depth right now. Our third running back's Kareem Hunt. We've got a lot of guys who are not necessarily, big guys, big bruisers or anything like that, but that's fine. And Chase Edmonds is going to lose out some carries to Connor. Trey Sermon's hanging out down here. That's not a bad grab. It's a little bit early to go do that. Michael Carter's getting picked a lot earlier than I would suggest he should be. I think that I'm going to end up with Jerry Jeudy. I don't know what to expect exactly out of Sam Darnold down in Carolina. I think he'll be better than he was in the Jets. It's hard not to be better than he had been. I think that he got broke down there pretty heavily. So I think I'm going to end up going with Jerry Jeudy here. That's the pick. I think he's going to be a lot better this year and show up, actually. All right, at running back, they're suggesting A.J. Dillon. He's way down the board, though. Why are they pushing that? It's a little bit early. He might be available next round, but I think he's probably coming off the board a little earlier than people are anticipating. But I would probably take Trey Sermon ahead of him, honestly, just because I think Sermon's likely to get running back 1 carries. Melvin Gordon as well. So I think I'm going to end up going with Melvin Gordon here. We've got a lot of wide receivers. We're really wide receiver deep on this team. Pretty good high-end talent, in my opinion. I'm going to go with running back here, though. And I don't know why it's pushing A.J. Dillon. That's a little weird to me. I think that he should be available next round, probably. In my mind, he should be available the next 2 rounds, but he's probably going to go next round, or before I even pick the next pick. It's probably listening here, right? So I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon, actually. I think he's going to be a solid RB1 for that team for a while. And so I'm going to snag him. And look, yeah, see, A.J. Dillon's still there. Here we are in the 10th round. We have not picked a QB. We waited a long time on that. We could have checked the last 2 rounds, but I wanted to see what would happen if we held out. It is a thinner league, being 10 players. And so I think we could wait and be perfectly fine. A guy that, quietly had a QB1 season last year was Tom Brady. He was perfectly fine. What's changed about that offense from last year to this year? Are we expecting his arm to suddenly, be insufficient? That's not the noise we're hearing. He's slight bit more game manager because he's not running the ball at all. He's not going to scramble for touchdowns for you, but he's going to throw the lights out. He's got 3 premier wide receivers, a great tight end, a lot of running backs. They have 50 running backs on that team who catch the ball. So Tom Brady's a good pick here, I think. So is Jalen Hurts, and so is Matthew Stafford. I think Stafford will be pretty good this year. Just prefer Brady in this spot. Something says grab Brady there. All right, and then let's go back to running back, check out what's going on over there. Now it's telling me pick A.J. Dillon again, and this time I think it's actually the right round to grab A.J. Dillon. I don't think it's so bad to have A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones on the same team. It's not exactly ideal. Obviously, it's a handcuff situation, but I think that Dillon slots right into the Jamal Williams role. I think he ends up a little bit better this year than Jamal Williams did. And, he figured for 30% of the carries in that offense, Williams did, and he got a lot of receiving work. Now, A.J. Dillon is probably likely to get a little bit less receiving work. I don't believe that he's as bad as people want to say he is. At wide receiver, it's a lot thinner here. I do like Devontae Parker. I think that he's being undervalued this year, but he's competing with Will Fuller, so I see why people are pushing him down the board a little bit. But we're going to go with A.J. Dillon here. Kenyon Drake is another option. He's going to be pass catching back out of Las Vegas, and he's going to get a lot more work than I'm imagining most people are guessing he's going to get. All right, let's get back to wide receiver, I think. Let's see what our roster looks like at this point. We've got probably one more running back that we'll grab and 2 more wide receivers is my guess. If we're trying to approach this from just a balanced team perspective, that's the direction I would head. But we're going to take it as it comes to us and see what happens here. All right. At running back, it is a bit thinner. Latavius Murray's hanging out down there. J.D. McKissick as well. We've already got Antonio. We do not have Antonio Gibson. We got him in that last one. I think that I'm going to pass on running back and go with wide receiver. Mecole Hardman's going to be a wide receiver 2 for his team, I believe. And Michael Pittman's going to be up there too. I think that both those guys are good. Henry Ruggs is a guy that I would take a flyer on a little bit later than now. So I'm going to go with Pittman and see what happens there. He's done okay in camp from what I've seen. All right. Another thing I like to see is Logan Thomas. Look at that. 13th round, Logan Thomas is still available. So, yeah, we did grab Kyle Pitts, and we got a great value there. That was a great value pick because we got him probably 2 rounds, maybe 1 round after he should have gone off the board or would have normally gone off the board. And he's going to be a solid pick this year, I think. But to see Logan Thomas fall this far down the board is a bit surprising. All right, so running back is about the same as it was before. I think that we could grab Devin Singletary. I think he's going to be a little bit of a surprise for people this year. Henry Ruggs is hanging out there. We might be able to hold off one more round, but there's a couple other guys that I'd be willing to take a flyer on. I think we've got 2 spots left before we end up grabbing defense and kicker. And because I stream defense and kicker most of the season, I'm just looking for my week 1 and 2 starters. Kickers, I like to sit on a little bit longer than the defenses. We're going to grab Devin Singletary, go with that. And then we're going to go over here to a wide receiver, and we're going to grab somebody like Jalen Reagor. Let's make sure we don't double down on our wide receivers again, though. All right. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with Jalen Reagor here. Traquan Smith's a guy you could take a flyer on. Gabriel Davis as well. I think that Gabriel Davis is a good pick. I like him he's a good receiver. I just wonder, with Emmanuel Sanders, what's going to happen with him exactly. So I'm going to go with Jalen Reagor. People just kind of wrote him off entirely. And I don't think that that's the best move. I think that people should be picking him. All right, let's check out defenses and kickers and see what we've got left. Some decent defenses here. Kickers are probably still all on the board. They are. And so I'm going to try to grab... I think the Colts will be an okay defense this year. I think the Niners are a little bit more in name than anything. So I'm going to go with the Colts. And then let's grab a kicker here. Zerline, it says it's injured. I'm not sure what that injury is. I haven't been paying attention exactly on all of the kickers. I like Jason Sanders. He was a surprise last year for a lot of people. If you check out our power rankings on our website or in our draft kit, you'll see that Jason Sanders was actually one of the top kickers last year in our power rankings. And it's kind of a cheat code. Our power rankings are. They predict defenses and kickers pretty solidly throughout the whole season. And this just does, it doesn't take into account like every single factor, but one of the most important factors is going to be consistency. And that factors in finishing as a startable player. That factors into our power rankings. These sorts of metrics are very important. And it's going to tell you that a guy like Jason Sanders and Rodrigo Blankenship were actually really, really good last year and in fantasy football. But people, they just don't know how to evaluate these positions exactly. So, our power rankings help out with that a lot. You can get those over to our websites, ffbupside.com. So head over and check that out. All right, guys, that's going to be the last pick for that. We're going to head over here and we're going to, I think next week we're talking about doing a few different things. We might break down how we work through a mock draft. I was emailing back and forth with one of you recently, and you suggested, one of the guys suggested, hey, you should break down how you think of a mock, how you use a mock draft. So I was thinking that might be a good idea, actually. Work through what it is that goes through my head with each round and why I do what I do with a mock draft. So I am doing that to prepare for the actual draft, what the methodology is and why I'm doing things the way I'm doing. I'm not looking to win every mock draft. I'm looking to find out what works, what doesn't work. One of the best ways to learn how to do something is to screw up, is to do it wrong. To do it wrong a lot, find out how not to do it so that you find out how you should do it. What is it? Edison said he found 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb before he figured out the way to make a light bulb. And it's a really important aspect of figuring out what you're going to do. I recommend you do a lot of mock drafts. If you're sitting here watching a few mock drafts, maybe you've got an addiction. I see you guys watching at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. So, do a mock while you're mocking with me here. Maybe we can arrange something and get everybody on a mock draft together with us. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, we've got a whole week of scheduling in mind. And make sure you check back, hit that subscribe button as well as the like button down below, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.